Our guest tonight has played some of the most amazing venues around the world, and that is no joke. He has walked red carpets, graced the stages of some of our favorite award shows. Now, you may have seen him on tour with acts like Lifehouse, John Mayer, Sara Bareilles, just to name a few, or you may remember him from the movie I Trust You to Kill Me with Kiefer Sutherland. Now, Greg has traveled the world as an incredible touring musician, and if all of that musical talent wasn't enough, he's also a renowned makeup artist. This man has so many talents, I just can't even begin to describe them all. He is a true treasure and an absolute talent on every level, but even more so, he is one of the most kind, genuine, and just all around incredible human beings that I have ever met in my life. Now, here to share his story on how ALS impacted his life, please welcome artist extraordinaire, Greggy V. Oh, Greg Velasquez.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm so excited. And I wish I was there to see my family's face when they saw that you were on our show tonight. Oh, yep, they're already reacting, chiming in. The best surprise ever. Love, 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 Greg.
Thank you. I love you as well. Thank you.
It is so true. It is so true. So
and happy belated Mother's Day to your mom.
Aww,
it's great to
that.
I usually send her a message and I didn't this year, and I had a busy year, but yeah, so
you're fired. you're fired. I love that. And my grandma's watching too. So happy
Hello,
Mother's Day and
everyone.
happy Grandma's Day. They get to share
absolutely.
the day. Yeah. Oh, greetings, Greg. People are chiming in saying hello to you already. I love that. The Mazzantis from Virginia are tuning in, watching.
Hello. Thank you.
So fun. Oh, and of course, my dad has to say hello.
Oh,
What's
nice.
up, Greg, my man?
What's up, Ray?
Oh, I love it. And my mom said that you send the best Mother's Day message.
Oh, she's sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, likewise with the birthday messages. Yeah, I can.
You see, it's all love here. It is all about
messages. Thank you. Appreciate them very
much.
Always.
Always. We're just spreading the love everywhere. So for everyone watching, if you haven't figured it out already, clearly Greg and I know each other, which I just love this man to death. So we met, I was thinking about this when I knew you were coming on. I think it was 19 years ago. Mm-hmm. I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like it was 19 years ago. I was trying to, I'm not going to say my age because we don't need to say that. Both of us stopped. Yeah, we both stopped aging at 25, but about 19 years ago, we met. You were in a band, Rocca DeLuca in the Burden, and they were on tour with Lifehouse, which was one of my favorite bands ever. So we got to meet, and yeah, I had no idea back then that just meeting you after a show was going to turn into this almost 20-year friendship. I think that is so cool and so crazy. Do you remember that at all? Do you remember all
of course.
Years ago?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Like it was yesterday. A lot of those years from, that was a special time, a special band. And, it was sad that it ended, but it was a fun time. And I guess all good things come to an end at some point.
It's true. But it was one heck of a ride.
Yeah, for sure. It's when I look back on that, even though I played in other bands and I've done have other successful like outings with different bands, but that one was definitely its own time, and good things that were happening and the people that were involved, and and the special people we met, so yeah, it was all a part of that,
so cool. Well, I'm gonna say that the night that show, I'm dubbing that already as your best night ever, because that led to our friendship. So hands down, your favorite moment. I know it. You don't have to say it.
That's funny.
I still remember.
It was great.
Do you remember?
You guys were visiting. We played at the college, and you were there with I think one of your girlfriends or something, and then we just happened. It was by luck. I think we were at some bar or something afterwards, and then you girls were there, and we introduced her. Oh my gosh, you guys are! And we didn't even watch the first. or something crazy. Like, so it was something like that. And I was like,
It was
wow, okay. We're
awful.
like, awesome. We're glad you liked us.
We did. We were definitely those girls who were like, okay, we don't need an opening act. Can we get to Lifehouse?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how much longer do we have to wait? And you know what? Yep, we were real honest. We spit out. But I do still remember. Do you remember the first thing you noticed about me? Because I remember this because it was so strange. I remember you telling me this. And you and the drummer both noticed the same thing first.
Ryan.
I,
Mhm.
yeah, I've never forgotten this. Yeah, you and Ryan both said the same thing.
Oh man, that you
I'm giving you
had
hints.
your eyebrows.
Yeah.
How perfect your eyebrows were. Yeah.
That made my life. That's how I knew you had to be my bestie because you know what, ladies? Find you a man that compliments your eyebrows.
So
That's
fast
the
forward a
thing.
few years later, there was a really good. She was out here in California visiting, and I have a girlfriend who's like a major like makeup artist guru to the stars, and she meets Season, and she's like, "Oh my god, I would hate to do those brows." The first thing she said, I was like, "Oh my god." Do you remember that? My friend Lisa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Lisa was like I don't know if you know about Lisa. Her name was Lisa Torres, but she was like Mac Cosmetics, like when they were actually getting really big. She was their very
Okay.
first pro artist. So she traveled the world with Mac Cosmetics doing shows. And I remember when she met, she's like, "Oh my God, I would hate to do her eyebrows." That was when I was like, "Yep, I told you that the eyebrows, yeah, they're like the most perfect
you
thing
guys just
ever."
made my life. I think
Yeah.
that is one of the things I will remember. Like life goals accomplished.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything else. I mean, it was just so funny. Yeah, I remember you telling me that. That was the first time anyone ever said that.
And
The first thing I
the
noticed.
hair, I told you, every time you walked around, it was like a hair commercial. It was like she's walking and this beautiful hair is just like bouncing in the wind. It was like, oh my God, this chick. Yeah.
Oh, where have you? I
So
need to
cute.
keep you around all the time because you say all these great things that just make me feel like a superstar. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, look at this. My grandma is tuning in. I told you, Greg, she was gonna love this. She said
Oh,
a
wow.
surprise
She's
that
sweet.
made her heart skip a beat.
Hello, Grandma. How
I
are you?
love it, love it, love it. My mom says that this is such a fun show. They're smiling from eyebrow to eyebrow. I don't
I'm
even think
glad
my
we can.
family knew that little story, by the way. So
Do they know my
I'm
whole name,
real
by the
proud.
way? They only knew me as Greggy V, so they know my whole name now.
Now
Just kidding.
they secrets out, secret
I'm kidding.
secrets out. I know. I even call you that still by mistake. You're Greggy
It's pretty
V.
rare. Like the only ones like people that know me from the band situation. But like, and I've had friends over the years that are like, because Michael Flores are a good friend, and I'll
Mhm.
go out to a show with him. And recently, I had a friend with me, and he's like, Greggy V, and they're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "That's what people used to call me." It's like just kind
Do
of
you
funny.
like
Do
it?
you have nicknames? And I'm like, "Well, that's just an old band nickname." No, I don't. It doesn't bother me at all. But it's just
Okay.
funny. Like, oh, my nickname in high school was Chaka, so I mean, anything was better than that.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, because I think because I had long hair and like scraggly long hair, and I was brown. I don't know, so I looked like Chaka from Land of the Lost. I don't know. That's what
Oh,
you know.
that's funny.
Yeah, I don't know. And I was
If I
little.
had that photo ready, I would bust it out because that's a really fun one to look at.
Yeah.
Because my whole life that I've known you, you've been rocking that hair. I've never seen the long
Rocking the
hair
no hair,
except
you
in
mean?
photos. Yeah, I've been,
Yeah,
Hey,
pretty
bald is
funny.
beautiful. My dad's with you on that one.
I
He
always
supports
say.
the no hair.
Yeah, I always say.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so you had this on the intro, you had this killer music career and you've got to do some of the coolest things ever. And you took me along for some of that ride, which was awesome. I had so much fun getting to experience and sort of sit back and watch you live that dream and watch that dream come true. So, living on a tour bus, which I can attest, I got to see it, and
Mhm.
you had one of the most incredible tour buses ever, full on cribs. You guys should have had your own episode of Cribs back, like
Yeah.
walking through the tour bus, all the fanciness. So touring the world, living the life of a rock star, what was maybe your favorite moment from being on tour? Did you have a favorite place to perform at? Any fun stuff you want to share with us?
I mean, I would say probably doing some of the more exotic, like international shows was always
Okay.
really cool. Like Iceland, because it was such a mysterious place, and we didn't speak a lick. Like they barely spoke any English. Like people there, and just the people that were in touch, like the producers or whatever. But
Okay.
yeah, and it was such a different, thing, and maybe when we went to Germany too was kind of interesting. And
So
we got to spend, well, that stint was kind of a trip because we spent Christmas Eve eating reindeer in Iceland, and then
Oh.
yeah, so yeah, and then yeah, that was a trip, and then we got to spend New Year's in Berlin, and that's when that part of Berlin, I mean, it was just starting to build up, and it was like being in New York, because this is what, 2005 or 6, and so
Okay.
that was I know it's very, very long time ago.
No, it was
And
yesterday. It was
so
yesterday. 2015. No.
yeah, but that was interesting. I mean, it felt like it was so new there, but it's with fireworks, it's very free. So like that night, it was fireworks going everywhere, like across your face, and it was like almost like a war zone, but it was exciting at the same time. And I was breakdancing in the snow, and what could be any better than that? So fireworks and breakdancing on ice. I don't know.
I mean, you're living your best
Yeah.
life. You're just living your
Yeah.
best life
So
out there.
that was pretty cool. And and I don't know, just there's the touring life's a bit of a gypsy life, so it's there's parts of it that I miss. There's parts of it that I don't miss as much because, I mean, how long we used to talk on the phone, sometimes for hours,
Yeah.
just because, when you're meeting new people all the time, they just want to be in that moment of, oh, it's the band, da, 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 and they get the same questions, and it becomes like this monotonous kind of yo-yo of meeting people that are just trying to be a part of, the action. So it wasn't very fulfilling in that sense, but always doing the shows was fun, and getting to travel and see the world. What's not to like about that, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the times like when you are in town, those venues are those people who are there for you. They just roll out the red carpet and they're like, oh my god, and that's those times are very special. I'll always like cherish that, and it's a trip because I still have quite a few friends over the years, like even after the band situation happened and Rocco was touring like by himself. I would have fans still reach out for years, like going, I still don't know why he doesn't have a real band or whatever, or why he really needs to get a band back there or whatever it is, but so it's cool. So I've made so many great relationships through that, and it was a fun way to kind of like go through that part of life,
Yeah.
and
Would you ever
experiences.
welcome a reunion? What if the stars aligned and even just for one show they wanted to get the Burden back together and Rocco DeLuca?
Yeah, I mean, if
Would you
that
guys
ever
do it?
happened, but we've talked about, like, I mean, not as a band, but like me and Ryan, I'm still quite in touch with Ryan Carmen and a little bit Dave Bestie. He was the bass player who's now in the Rival Sons, which is a huge band. And
yeah, I think they were just on tour with. Well, they're doing their own world.
They're
tour,
doing their
right?
own
But
tour
they were
now,
on
but they're
tour with Aerosmith. Or
yeah, that was a while ago, and then they were on tour with
okay.
AC/DC and then Black Sabbath for a while. So, and now they're back on they have a new record, and yeah, some that stuff. It's funny, like this stuff will come up, like our old friends will chime in, or they'll ask me and Ryan, hey, would you ever? Yeah, I mean, if it came up and it happened, I have no qualm with them. And in fact, I was just invited actually on Saturday to see Rocco with his new band. That's not really a band. They're kind of like a trio of guitar, keyboards, and a stand-up bass. It's very,
Cool.
yeah, it's cool. It's instrumental, and they do have
Okay.
a guy who kind of sings a little bit. Rocco sings a little bit, but they're not doing like full-on songs. Like it's really, really mellow. But I was invited, and I had, it was like Mother's Day was the next day. It was like too much to go to LA and that whole scene. So, but yeah, I'm still in touch with them, and and
I love
they're
it.
all very sweet people. And, we had things that happened, and Rocco went through a pretty rough situation and battling to get out of he had a lawsuit against the production company. It was a whole scene, but whatever, but it's all gravy, and he's doing good, and everyone's, in a different place. And, it's cool.
I
And,
love it.
Ryan plays with his wife's band, and the Dolls, they're called DAHLS. It's a plug for Ryan if he watches this. But
I like it.
but he's yeah, and so they're they're all good guys. And I'm happy that I became friends, and it was we were like a family for a moment, which was really neat.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to go through life and have these cross experiences and integrations of peoples, so it was fun.
Yeah. I mean, you guys spent every waking second together, so
yeah. And I play
think
now.
I think
I randomly I'll sit in with so Jay Buchanan's the singer of the Rival Sons. And so this is really cool. This has just happened. I don't know if you saw this on my Instagram or whatever, but
no.
he actually had a show where he did all of his folk stuff. And do you remember all the folk songs that I used to send you guys, like from Jay Buchanan?
Yes.
So we actually did that. We did a show in Long Beach, and KLOS was there, and everyone came out, and he called me the night before. Greg, I'd love you to come play, bro. And I said, yeah, I'm there. So yeah, it was a very special time. And I don't know, I've heard news that he might do it again, and I invited some special friends out, and they all came, and everyone's like, oh my God, this has to happen again. But I don't know. If it happens, it happens. I'm cool. I'm not, I'd love to, it'd be fun, but I'm not like, going to sit by like every waking moment thinking, oh my God, this is going to happen or whatever, so.
Yeah.
And then I play with another special guy too, Jameson Burt, who's amazing artist, singer, songwriter. And you should check him out. Jameson makes music. And but no, he's quite amazing. He really is. And I really enjoy playing with Jameson. He's a stellar human being, and the band are all great guys. And so, in a whole different realm of still doing it, but different time, and it's fun.
Love it.
So
well, and I think you got to live the dream of what most musicians get to just, they sit at home and they dream about getting to play the stages or the venues you did, or you had these moments where you get to see a packed, sold out show of people singing your song, singing the songs with you guys, and signs. And I mean, I'm going to dote on you for one quick second, because I think one of my absolute favorite memories was Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah.
I remember with Jen before the bass player, before him and his girlfriend, which her and I were both from the same small town, which is super cool. But before they got married, when she was still the girlfriend.
Elgin girls, I forgot.
Yeah. The Elgin girls. I love it. half the band was dating Elgin girls, which was genius. See, we always say they grow them really good in Elgin. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But I remember, you play the Hollywood Bowl itself is just iconic, and you played a sold out show, and Jen took me out. It was so cool to see, because during rehearsals, getting to go backstage, I remember walking out on the stage with you while you were setting up your stuff and looking out, and it was completely empty, and you could just see seats for days. It was incredible. And having the moment of just standing there, looking around, seeing this beautiful, massive venue that was such a huge deal. And then that night, I remember Jen said, come on, let's go. We're not watching the show from backstage. We're going to go out and we're going to be in the audience. And we walked out, and to look around, the place was totally packed. There were people with Rocco DeLuca and the Burden signs. There were signs for Greggy B. I mean, people were so in love singing every song. And there were so many people. So you guys were opening for John Mayer at the time. And no joke, there were people that left after your set. They didn't need to see John Mayer. They didn't come to see John Mayer. They came to see Rocco DeLuca and the Burden. They drove. We met those guys. They would drive for hours. They would come from all over the place just to see you. I mean,
yeah,
that was a moment for me.
That was definitely a special tour for us too. It was and also it's funny because we heard a lot about when you open for bands like that, and you get to hang around the sound crew and the lighting guys and the stage hands, and those guys will tell you, they're like, oh, the bands that opened the last few days, like they tell you the truth, and they were like, the sound guys were like, you guys are so badass. He's usually like opening bands. We only have it at a certain decibel, but we turned you guys up. We gave you lighting. Like they literally, they loved us. And I think it was kind of funny, you can tell, but it was kind of a jealousy thing with John after he met Rocco, that his whole crew was in love with us in the band. And they really did it was really neat. It was cool, you know. And I think it was such a weird thing that they didn't invite us on the last John Mayer cruise, which he does at the end of each year. He has this big cruise and he brings all the bands that toured with him during the year. And we had found out through the studio, like, well, you guys aren't invited to the John Mayer cruise. Like,
well. You made some enemies.
Yeah, I think so. But you know, we sounded great doing it, and so that was the best part.
Yeah.
You know.
You did. And it was it was such a cool moment to see just everyone just show so much love and support for you guys. I mean, it was so cool. Well,
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, otherwise you and I will just talk for hours, you know. We got a lot of important stuff to get there. But my last thing on this, because music is my favorite thing ever. So I get so excited when we get to have a musician on. Now, I know my dad will kill me if we don't bring this up because it was a joke in our household. But back in the day, you guys did a movie called I Trust You to Kill Me. You guys can probably still find it if you Google it. It's a super funny movie. So basically, Kiefer Sutherland became your tour manager, came on the road with you, and they filmed it all, good, bad, everything in between, I guess. And they made a show. So it turned into, I'm going to dub this the Christmas tree takedown heard around the world. So I want to talk about this because that scene, there was one specific scene in this movie. This was such a great movie. And this one scene just got all this notoriety. Back in the day, there was not social media like there was now. I'm willing to bet if there was, this would have been the meme of a lifetime. People went crazy for this. They still talk about it to this day. I know everywhere he would go for the longest time, people would bring this up. Did you have any idea in the world that one silly night was going to turn into what it was? First explain this Kiefer Sutherland Christmas tree moment.
Well, it is like you said, he's a pirate. He's a pirate and he went rogue, and you know, and in our celebration of being in London, I think, you know, it was during that trip, that, you know, that same Iceland Christmas trip when we were making the movie, and he was just celebrating so bad because we had finally kind of like we felt like we made it. We played all these international places and we were in London, and the English did not give us a good review, but that's pretty like standard, and it's traditional for them to do that with bands that are like a big deal. They kind of like are like, you know, noses in the air. Yeah, right. Show, you know what I mean? And that's how they are. So we had our own celebration, and we were at the hotel, and he just decided it would be a fun idea to just jump into the Christmas tree. We were having such a good time. He felt like, why not, you know? And but I'll say this, he did. So it wasn't rehearsed, nothing like that, but he prepped the hotel people like sort of what he was going to do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
he knew this. He knew this was coming. This wasn't in the moment.
He knew it was coming, but so it was like, but we didn't know when, and it didn't, and it became very natural. I mean, it was him, you know, but he did prep them because he didn't want them to, you know, kick us out, you know, which probably would have happened had he not prepped them, you know. And they're like, well, let's keep
spoiler alert.
Just go to the spot, you know, so it was fine.
I did not know that. I feel like they're going to be so mad at you for sharing that. That was a spoiler alert there. I thought that was a total in the moment. Okay. No, but it was really funny. So it makes sense now that it made the movie. But yeah, it just turned into this beast.
Yeah.
He just
I don't think he was going to be
a running dive.
You know, he almost
into a Christmas tree.
Well, it almost actually punctured his rib and into his stomach because the way he dove in, because it's a fake tree. So when he went into the tree, like one of them, like pretty much, I mean, he got a really bad mark, but he almost got stabbed by it. Yeah. It was it could have been quite dangerous. I mean, he could have took one in the eye, could have lost at least something weird, you know, but yeah, he didn't care. He was just going for it.
He was in the moment.
So then years
nothing
and years
can
later,
hurt Jack Bauer.
But hold on, this is another fun fact. So years and years later, after our band's done, and Kiefer had his own band, and he had like this country band that he was doing, and I used to kind of sort of like do a night at this club where I introduced new bands, and so I had them play, and they played, and we had a little baby Christmas tree in the back, and he dove into it, and that was not rehearsed. Ryan's like, "Hey man, it's a Christmas tree," and he ran into it and he dove, and it was freaking awesome. I wish and no one's got that one on film. That would have been great.
No.
Yeah, no one's got that on film. So.
You know what? You're just gonna have to keep a Christmas tree with you at all times, and every time you're around Kiefer, just throw it out.
Well, we always say that we're gonna at some point try to make that happen again. Like me and Ryan are always like, oh, we gotta play with him again at some point. Well, on a Christmas night, or so I'm sure something like that will happen again. But I mean, he was quite the rebel rouse. He loved that. He was like, he felt like he was our older brother, and I mean, I've told you about he would try to wrestle us all the time, and he could never take me down because I was a wrestler. I was like a real wrestler, and he would try to do the Canadian like hockey thing where you'd pull your shirt over, and I would just let my shirt fall off, and I would take him down. So,
my dad would be so proud. My dad always taught me, any fight you get in, a wrestler's gonna win every time. The wrestler's just takedown game on the ground is just unparalleled. He didn't know who he was messing with. Nope. I love it. We're going to add that to your list of I mean, you've taken down Jack Bauer.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I did.
You did it. Everyone, you heard it first, exclusive. You're getting all the secrets from behind the scenes.
The venue was in San Diego House of Blues. He was in the back alley, and he was all, "Come on, Greg, come on." And he was trying to wrestle me, and I'm all, "This is not going to happen right now." And so I took him down, had him on the floor, and he was like trying to pull my shirt over, and I had him in a double leg, and then I let him fall. I let him fall back, and then I kind of kept my hand in his chest and kept him on the ground. It was pretty hilarious. Yeah.
You are making so many people so angry right now. You've just shattered their dreams about their.
Yeah, they thought Jack Bauer is a lot bigger, right, and stronger, but
Jack
he
Bauer,
might be a little taller than me, but he's actually quite small.
You're giving all the secrets away. I love it. Well, I think that is something that is huge. You get to say that you took down Jack Bauer, and I don't remember his character on Designated Survivor, but I think he was kind of a strong character on that show too. You took him down.
He's an actor.
Actors are no match for wrestlers. That's what we're learning from this scenario. So guys, learn how to wrestle. Men, women, ladies, learn how to wrestle. You'll win every time.
Yeah.
That's the moral of that story. Okay, so you left the music scene for a bit. I mean, now you're back because you were updating us on all these super cool projects you have coming up. But you went back to, I don't know if I don't want to call this your first love because I know you love music just as much, but you are you're a superhero in my eyes. You're every girl's dream because you're a makeup artist. And can I just tell you how exciting that is? Side note, you're a makeup artist, and I never got to reap the benefits of that. So I will always be angry about that.
Just once, maybe once. Okay, yeah. Hilarious.
And so you did makeup one time, and you didn't do my eyebrows because they intimidate you.
Yeah.
So that's okay. That's okay. So you jumped back into the whole beauty world, which is super cool.
Well, that's always, I mean, that's always been kind of like a day job. And like, I just got into it because I had a lot of friends. Well, first of all, my family was kind of in production and film industry. My brothers were lighting and grip guys. And then I had friends that were doing makeup, and one of my best friend's wives, and she was always on set. And this is like way before that, but I was always like, one of her girlfriends I was dating. And so she kind of got me interested into it. And she's like, "Oh, you're so artsy. I bet you'd be good at it." And that's kind of how and I have an art and illustration background. Like when I was in high school and college, a little bit of college I did. And so I just felt it was easy. It was basically just contouring with color. And this is kind of fun. And make the skin look nice and put some eyeshadow here. And, and I over the years, I took classes, and I had a lot of friends that were into it, and they showed me a lot of cool things. But that's just kind of how I kind of fell into it naturally. It wasn't like something I just totally, I mean, I did dive into it at some point hardcore, because then I like, people were like, oh my gosh, you're talented at this. And then I ended up, in a weird way, I met all these really interesting people that were, they like what I was doing. I was different. I wasn't like your average makeup artist guy or whatever. So at the time, I mean, there wasn't many men doing, like, men were doing hair, but not so much makeup yet. And so people loved that. And then, you know, like a weird turn of events, I ended up meeting Mama Makeup, who was Madonna's makeup artist. And then another guy named Paul Starr, who worked with David LaChapelle, who's done Hotel LaChapelle. He's the photographer who actually shot Madonna's Black Book, all this stuff. They're all connected, all those guys. And I was working close to all these people, and they friended me, and they're like, oh, we'd love to show you some stuff, and will you assist us? And next thing you know, I was doing photo shoots and all these things. And so it's actually the trippy thing is, had I not got into music, I probably would have been like a way more successful makeup artist. But but I'm not kidding, because what I ended up giving up, I had to leave because that was my true passion, to do music, and I had to make that decision. And there was a time where I was getting tons of work, and I was Hollywood doing a ton of celebrities. I was working on shows, and actually the two main people that do American Idol are my really good friends. And so I used to work with her on all the shows. So had I not passed that up, I probably would have, been doing that. But it's okay. I got to pursue what I felt was my, my main desire, and had to go with it. And sometimes you just got to kind of take those chances. And that's kind of how it worked out, So, and I wouldn't have met you then, you know what I mean?
It's true.
So, yeah. So here I am. And all that was because her, and here I am.
I love it. But now you're back doing it again, which I think is really cool. So for anyone watching, I love this. Can you give us a tip or two coming from such a, stellar makeup artist? Are there any things, maybe what's the number one thing people are doing wrong with makeup?
They're putting makeup on bad skin.
Ooh.
So if you have exfoliated and cleansed and very beautifully like moisturized skin, that's going to make a good makeup. So keep that skin looking nice and hydrated. You're gonna be fine.
I love it. Easy as that. You make it sound so simple.
It is pretty simple. It's not hard. Because when you have a smooth skin, like everything goes on beautifully. It glides on. Makeup goes on like perfect. Yeah, that's how it works.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's like having that
that's
perfect.
Good to know.
Having that perfect like what do they call that? Like your, not the palette, but the actual, excuse me.
Well,
lots of
base.
Words there.
We start with the great base, and that builds.
Yes. Exactly. There you go.
Yeah. I like it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So drink your water, exfoliate your skin. Good base.
Hydrate.
Hydrate. That leads to some really great makeup.
Moisturizer, hydration. Yep, you're good.
Okay.
Pick the right color. You're good.
I fail at a few of the things on that list, but it's okay.
You're doing pretty darn good.
I can be better. Aw. I know. This is what drew you in.
Yep.
That will forever be one of my favorite stories in life. Yeah. It's so awesome. Okay. Well, you have accomplished, we've been talking about it for a while. You've accomplished some super cool things people only dream of. Now, one of my most favorite of your accomplishments, I think, has been something that probably most people don't know, maybe don't know about you or don't know about my story, because the entire reason that I became so passionate about ALS awareness, that I became an advocate, that I became an ambassador with the ALS Association's Greater Chicago chapter, all of that feeds and ties back to you. So I think most people don't know that. I credit you 100% with that passion for me and me being here. This show wouldn't have happened. I would not be here today if it wasn't for you. So I do want to talk a little bit about that, because you and Frank are the absolute driving force behind my passion and the need to fight to find a cure for this. So it all started with a charity garage sale so many years ago, back in the day, by this group, Friends for Frank. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Frank Frank was just an amazing guy. He was our high school mate, and he was just one of those kids. He was like, you know, every guy wanted to be him, every girl wanted to date him, you know, and he was this super good looking, beautiful, blue eyed, tan surf god, you know, and he was the most kind sweetheart of a guy. Like he was all that way through high school, always. And I mean, he always had these really fun parties, and everyone wanted to go there. Frank's, we're all going to Frank's. I mean, that was like the thing, you know. And then at some point, you know, he got ALS, and he started living with this disease, and but the way he carried himself, you would never imagine. So I mean, he would never think he had anything wrong with him, and he always carried himself that way. And so I think for us as friends, we felt like, dude, our brother's down, like we got to help him, you know. And that's really where it came from. And so it was a no-brainer. Like everyone's like, oh, we're helping this guy, you know, and right away, you know, and it was kind of a devastating thing. You know, he unfortunately had a wife at the time that was not supportive, and it was, you know, quite a tragic situation. And so I think we all felt like, and then his poor mom was kind of dealing with it on her own, and she was kind of a mom to us all. So we kind of stepped in and just kind of said, you know what, we got to do this thing for our friend, you know. And that's kind of how it started, you know. And he was just that guy, and it was easy to do something for him. I mean, you know, when someone's that special, you step in and you kind of make it, you want to do the same, you know. You kind of want to like act out what you see your friend doing, you know. And so that's kind of how it all started, you know.
And Friends for Frank was born, which I think is really beautiful.
Yeah, Friends for Frank. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know how long ago this was, but here were some of the Friends for Frank.
Yeah, we visited him I mean, pretty much almost weekly. I mean, there's times we, you know, but we'd rotate quite a bit. So we'd have a group almost, you know, once a week, once every other week, and we'd make it happen. You know, we'd all like stay in touch with each other, and it's cool because we're all still really quite close, all of us, you know. And it's a fun group. They're really family. People that we went to high school with are really special. I know a lot of people have grown up in certain situations. They might have a lot of close friends, but our high school was very, like, I think because it was we were kind of like lower middle class kind of vibe, you know, and we were nothing like the upper class schools. And I think that made for something. I think the way that people they were like these real human beings, you know. And everyone's like, there wasn't very cliquey. I mean, you would have like the punk rock dudes hanging out with the heavy metal dudes and the surfers and the cheerleaders, and it was a very mixed thing, and it wasn't super cliquey. Everyone really knew each other, so I think that's what made it special, you know. Yeah, cool. I really miss that guy a lot. And a lot of I still see a lot of our friends. In fact, Michelle, who you know, who's really kind of helped keep that stuff going. She'll have gatherings every so often, and we just had one like a few months ago. She called everybody up, and there was 50 people that showed up. So I'm going to be in town. I want to see everybody. BFL, big fat love. I'm sure you know what that means.
We're gonna hit on that.
But and so when they send that and you say there, we're all there. That's what happens.
I love that. I was going to ask you, do you still stay in touch with anyone? And that makes me so happy to know that you guys are still.
Yeah, we always do, and it always evolves around. You know, we all share stories, beautiful stories, and then, you know, new stories, and it's cool. Yeah, it's special, you know. And I know that some of the guys are still in touch with his mom. So I haven't talked to his mom in a long time, but I know some of the girls are quite in touch with him. So with her. So yeah,
she was such a sweetheart. Yeah, she was such a sweetheart. Well, I love this. I just want to mention too, before we talk about the big fat love, because what I think is so cool, you touched on it. Frank was such a great guy. He inspired, I think, everyone around him to level up. I think that's the best way to say it, because you couldn't help but be around him and not want to be better or to do something bigger or something more important with life. He brought that out in people, and it was so cool to get to see. So I remember the first time of which a lot of people on the show don't actually know the story of how I got involved. And again, it's because of you and Frank. But we went to this, I was in California, and you said, "Hey, my friend has ALS," and I didn't know what that meant, like most people. I'd heard the words. I had heard of Lou Gehrig's disease, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know anything about it. And you said, my friend has ALS, and a group of us, we have events for him. We help support him. ALS wasn't covered by his insurance, and he was in a tough, like you said, his wife left. I will be the one to say it. I know you're being too polite. Not only did she leave, but she left and she took everything. She left him in an empty house, in the chair he was sitting in. But you guys came together in a way like I've never seen before. And I thought, yes, I have to go. I want to be a part of this. We get to this garage sale, and I remember hearing the way your friends talked about him. I have never heard anything like it before. And you can say a lot of good things about people.
Yeah.
There are a lot of amazing people in the world. I have never experienced a group of people that have truly loved and cherished anyone the way that you guys loved Frank. And I just remember being so completely awestruck and thinking, I have to meet this man. I mean, I have to meet the guy that's done this, because
Yeah.
this is incredible. And then meeting him, I don't even think it took 1 second.
Yeah.
I don't know what is less than that, but the teeniest increment of time had passed, and I got it. I got what you guys saw in him. I instantly remember going home, and I wanted to know everything I could about ALS. I reached out to the Chicago chapter, which is what led me here all those years ago, almost 20 years ago. And I remember being so heartbroken to actually look up this disease and find out what this means, what someone goes through, and that there isn't a cure. It didn't seem right. And I think what you and the friends in the group did to make his life so special, I mean, it's huge. I want you to tell us a little bit about the Friends for Frank, because I think that's really cool about what they created and what that meant to him.
Well, I mean, it was just a way for us to, that so he could be self-sustained. And then, and then I know through that, he started giving to, like, it actually became like a, what is it, like a scholarship fund. And so he gave to a couple schools through Friends for Frank. And so that kind of really spurned, got the wheel spinning, I think, for, and then you're the one who actually took me to the ALS center here in Orange County, at that point, I think. And you really started like, hey, let's check this out, and I was like, oh, cool. And his mom had started donating at that point, because through his cause, and it was really, it was really special. But it just helped him to be self-sustaining, and it bought him really amazing things. I mean, there was a time when we were even kind of freaked out, because we were all just discovering this as well, Lou Gehrig's disease. So I think for us it was so hard to go through, and then watching him not be able to speak for a minute, but then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, they have this new computer, and you can speak through it, and you can actually have a voice. And it was like, what the heck? Yeah, well, this is what our money has raised. We're like, oh my God, like, it was really a special thing to have happen. So that was really, really amazing. And to see what some of these funds can do for these people, it's really special. So I'm glad I was a part of it, and I know that we tried to document some of his life. That was so hard at the time. And, there was times going down there was hard, because when he didn't speak, it was a little harder, but it was weird because just the communication through his eyes and body language were unbelievable. And you're like you would think like, oh, this is going to be really uncomfortable. But then he would sit there and he would just gaze at you, and then you'd hold his hand, and then he would squeeze your hand, and he'd be like, it's good, So it was really special.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really amazing. So, and I think you left blessed. You left like, wow, this is like, it changed your life. Like, wow,
Yeah.
this can't stop here. Like we need to. There's other people hurting, and he was like that. It was
Yeah.
cool to see him, and see him in action, I guess. That was him.
Yeah.
It was like he's kind of almost like kind of like an angel in life. They only
Yeah.
happen once in a while, but he was definitely helped us and made us feel great about helping him. So and
Mhm.
it just didn't stop there. I mean, it just like his mom used to say. I mean, I don't know. I know this is. I think you were going to ask me this question, but I might be leading into it. But his mom used to say that he was a soul collector. And that was really cute because he was. I mean, people that met him, he would right away, like, even just before he had his disease, he was just like that. He's one of those guys. And,
Yeah.
when he created that logo, and he actually would hand out rocks to people with BFL,
I know.
meaning
I know.
big fat love. So there you go.
You're beating me to all the punches. You're beating me to all the punches. Okay, I think this is one of the coolest mottos, the coolest catchphrases of all times. Tell us the story behind Big Fat Love.
Well, that's just
BFL, as we
he
call it.
was just okay. So he would go down to these cafes all the time, and he just loved. He's just like one of those kind of guys. He loved talking to people, but this one particular trip, he went to Mexico, and that's when he didn't feel right. He knew something was up, and that's when he came back. He hadn't gotten diagnosed yet, but he would always go to this cafe, and I'm not sure, I might be botching this story. You might even know it better than me, but I just know that he would always like meet these people, and then he just decided to make these logos and hand them out to people and be like, hey man, take this with you and take it wherever you go. And it was like Big Fat Love. And so that became his tagline, and people just loved it. They're like, what? And then they wanted to make hats. That one guy, oh, we got to make hats. We got to make t-shirts. Like it was like this thing, So yeah, it was pretty incredible that he, had something like that going. And so from then on, we still use it in my group of friends, or like it's just like you say, like, talk to you later or whatever, or our best or whatever, much love. Like ours is BFL, Big Fat Love, and it's just about spreading your heart and good things to other people,
And it's so much bigger than just you're being super modest and making it sound like, it's just in your group of friends. It is so much bigger than that. And I love telling people about this story. I love sharing Big Fat Love with everybody because it came from such a pure place. This came from long before Frank was sick. From what I had always heard from the friends, it was something his whole life he had sort of like a pay it forward kind of idea.
Yeah,
he had
yeah,
always
yeah.
said, and he would see somebody, he would just be out in the world and see somebody, give an act of kindness, hold the door, do something special for someone else, and expect or get nothing in return. Frank would call that Big Fat Love. And he would say it, he would use the phrase, he would see it and say, look at that Big Fat Love. And then, like you said, he started sandblasting it on these stones, carrying it around with him, handing it out to strangers. And I want you guys to really think what that would mean to you, to have a stranger come up to you and just give you the stone, tell you, carry this with you, take it with you wherever you go, keep on spreading that Big Fat Love. It was just this reminder of something bigger than us in the world, that you can just change someone's whole life by smiling at them or holding the door or helping somebody into the car, just everything. And I think Frank was the symbol of that. He was the guy out there reminding people, guys, we're all in this world together. Let's just help each other out. And then it spawned this, I don't know, larger than life sort of reaction. And I remember being so impressed because you guys, the Friends for Frank was created, and then you guys set up a website, but his nurse would read to him. So you guys had a message board, because this was back in the day before technology was as great as it is. So I was so impressed by this, but you guys had a message board and people could write messages to Frank. And every single day, his nurse would read him the messages that would come in. And these messages came from around the world, people that had never met him. They didn't know him. They weren't part of your
Mm-hmm.
friend group in high school. But through some random situation or circumstance in life, his story crossed their path. Big Fat Love crossed their path, and they found Frank, and they would write to him about what it meant to them. That blows me away, because this man, I know how he impacted me. I'm going to ask you in a second, because I want to hear how he impacted you. But to get to sit back and see that this man inspired people around the world that he has never even encountered, I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's crazy. And I don't know if we talked about this or not, but I would be in random places, in random states, just around,
Mm-hmm.
and I would see it. I would walk into a bathroom and Big Fat Love would be written on the stall. Or I would be in some other random state walking and someone with sidewalk chalk had written Big Fat Love on the ground. I mean, this was such a huge movement that just, I don't know, it touched the whole world. And Frank did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's touched my life tremendously, and
Yeah.
to just kind of, you know, get off the cell phones and start a conversation and say hi to somebody.
Yeah.
It's like that simple.
Yeah.
And yeah, just everywhere I go. I mean, on a day, like I think there's times in my life, even like after the band situation, and I went through kind of an adjustment period of getting back to like reality and real life and jobs, and it was like, there was like some moments where it was kind of like, it's easy to be self-absorbed with certain types of thinking, but something like that is so beyond, it just takes you out of the headspace, and
Yeah.
and for him, I know he was like all about God first and treating people right, and that's
Yeah.
so that was important, and it's become important to me. He's helped me to kind of reevaluate things, and not look so inwardly, I guess, and oh, I have this going on and that going on, but you don't have ALS, or you don't have, you
Yeah.
can still speak, you can still walk, or whatever, and
Yeah.
it's tremendous how it affects your life,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, it's that deep, and for all of our friends it's the same. And so
Yeah.
it's funny because we'll write that, and then it's funny, so we still, once in a blue moon, we'll get people that are like, what is that, and we get to share, oh, you don't know what Big Fat Love is? Cool.
Let me tell you. I
Yeah, so
know.
it's fun, it's special for sure.
And I still get really excited, and I'm really proud of myself for holding it together, because we did one episode where Sam just flashed Frank's picture and it made me start crying.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's crazy to me, because I didn't even have the relationship you had with him. But for the shortest moment that I got to have him in my life, yeah, it was just this, like you said, he's an angel. He was an angel here on earth. And those kind of people come once in a super blue moon. And he was that person for me, and I know for all you guys. But I still get excited to tell his story. I get
Yeah, that's
excited to
amazing.
share with people
Yeah.
what he did, and just get that message, get Big Fat Love out there in the world again, and start reminding people what the meaning behind that is and why it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
He was
true.
the coolest. And he fought, which I think is really cool, because you got to witness this too. He had this disease, and this was back way before we had the advances that we do now,
Hmm.
and the technology even that we have now. He was battling this a long time ago. I mean, he passed away. He lost his battle with ALS in, I believe, April of 2010.
Hmm.
I think that was the date, April of 2010. But he fought hard, and
Yeah,
when
I
you
mean,
have about
they also said, I remember, they talked about having the mind where he was at, and I think his attitude, and
Mhm.
I mean, he would just go on about life like it was like, it's not going to
Yeah,
bother me. It's just the way he was. And I think
yeah,
I remember him meeting another guy at some point, and they found out that guy had been living with for like 17 years or something crazy. And so that really gave him hope. Like, hey, he was determined, like, we're going to find
yeah.
a cure. You know what I mean? So I think that hopefulness for him and his
Mhm,
desire,
mhm.
it never spawned. It was just straightforward and how he attacked at life. And I think that's what got him through the most, and how strong he was able to battle it. And I think that's really was, I think, you know, the key element there of, you know, his survival, and how long, what, I think it was like, what, 10 years or something crazy, or maybe it was a long, I think it was about 10 years, right? That he,
Yeah, I want to say it was about 8 years. Yeah, it was
okay,
about
yeah, maybe 8.
yeah, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what it was, I think maybe when his 7th year, people were like, whoa, that's crazy. Like people had never heard of that. Like, you know, and then all of a sudden he's like, nope, I'm going another year. I'm going, like, he was so determined, you know, and poor guy, you know, I wished, you know, it's, you know, but it is what it is. And it was, you know, it was his time to go, and it's okay, you know? So it was special. And yeah, so I'm glad that, or he was in my life, you know, and I'm sure, like, as you are too. So yeah, it's very neat.
Well, you said it, we were lucky enough to have him on earth as long as we did, because he was an absolute angel. So now he gets to be our guardian angel and sort of watch out. And I think I wish he was here, because I think he would have had the biggest kick out of all of this that has happened because of him.
Yeah.
That it led me to this new passion and took me down this path, that I'm shouting his story from the rooftops, that it led to this show, that we get to highlight this community. I think he would have just loved every second of this. He would have had so much fun. So I know that he's super excited watching us. But
100%.
he is such a cool human. But I don't even know how you could sum this up. But if you could sum it up, what are some of the ways that Frank inspired you in life? Which, by the way, I hope you hold it together, but let's just look at this beautiful human right here.
Yeah, I mean, just you inspire. Yeah, and you know, I mean, if you show up, yeah, you can't show him the younger one. He's just too pretty. His high school one, you're like, oh my god, it's just like one of those. You're like, come on, man, how could this guy?
I don't even have that. I don't even think I have that photo.
I'll just send you a photo of him when he's young.
Yes, please.
Just one of those. He looked like this model surfer kid, you know, and he was just, you know, bronze and beautiful. And he's still, yeah, he's such a sweetheart.
That smile gets me every time. He had one of the most incredible smiles I've ever seen.
No, I mean, you know, it's just to be like a friendlier person on the daily. Like, seriously, that's what my takeaway, and having him as a friend my whole life, and through that, you know, like, really just reaching out to people, or, you know, just going a step forward, or you know, like, if someone needs something, accommodate, or let them borrow it, whatever, hey, keep it, or whatever, you know, like, just literally just, you know, getting over yourself, and like, humble yourself, and just help others, and be a good neighbor, you know, be a good person on earth, you know. That's really the number one takeaway. And that's really how, you know, it's every day. Like, you know, it's funny, like, when I do things like that, like, it's like, I'll even have this funny reminder. It's like, oh yeah, like, that's something like Frank would do, or, you know, how cool is that? You know, like, it's true. We all, and all my friends, when we get together, we talk about stuff like that, you know, like, it's really cute, you know. So he really inspires me in that way, you know, in his life. And I mean, I just trip out, like, watching him go through that, you know. And I told you probably a million times, like, wow, like, I go, because I don't know how I would have been through that, you know. And, you know, what people have treated, like, I don't know, like, I can't say what you know, it was and he was, I think he made me see things and it's a whole different light, and a positive light, and, like, you know, that strength, really, you know. And his being, and, you know, what's crazy is, like, because, you know, my sister passed a couple of years ago from cancer, but it's a trip, because my sister she kind of had that spirit, you know. And so I shared that with her too, about Frank. I said, you're like that, because you're a fighter, you know. And she was really special. So that was really neat. So, but yeah, so it does that. It's that strength, and just living and giving to others. And that's really, I think, the takeaway for me with Frank. And, you know, it inspires me in that way. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I know that Frank and your sister are partying it up in heaven. I hope they're watching the show right now from sort of the best seats up there.
Yeah.
Um, People are chiming in. I want to throw some of these up because I just love how much people are really taking all these stories in right now. That let's see, this is one of the many reasons why we love Greg so much. He's the most caring, loyal, and loving man. Love him tons.
Thank you. You're so
Scott
sweet. Thank you.
Marcel, who Greg, you would love him. Scott is an ALS warrior. He has ALS. He is battling with, he's got that Frank courage. He is
Nice.
so optimistic and he
Yeah.
is, he is trying to kick ALS's butt. He is standing strong in the fight. And so it says, sounds like we need to start a movement on BFL. Scott, touche, my friend. We absolutely do. You spread the word. You shout it from the rooftops too. You spread some BFL.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. Yeah. Thanks for, and Donna, thank you so much. It's amazing. Beautiful
Frank's
words.
smile
Thank
will
you.
stay with us forever. And the Mazzanti's BFL for life.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
True. Scott will. He says he will. He's in. He will be shouting BFL from the rooftops. I love that. It is such a cool message. It is. And I love that we get to talk about it here. And we get to maybe, for people that didn't know what that was, we got to spread the message a little further. And we got to introduce them to Frank because we didn't even do his story justice, I feel like. There are so many other incredible things about him that we could have shared. But if he were here right now, you have known him, you knew him pretty much your whole life. If he were here laughing and joking with us on the show, what do you think his message would be to everybody? What would he want to say to the people that are watching?
He would say, go to the beach and smile. No, I'm serious. He was all about, he wanted to surf so bad. He'd be like, dude, just go to the beach for me. Just go look at the ocean, go surf and think of me. He would say that to me almost every time I saw him. No, but I'm not, that's true, but he did. He would be like, hey man, like he would just send me these quirky little funny messages like, did you surf today? Awesome, man. Smile, enjoy it, enjoy life. Like that was his message, and there was nothing more than that, and that's what was a trip. I'd be like, man, this guy is like in a crazy place. He can't even talk and walk, but he's freaking, this is rad, like he would brighten my day like crazy. So I don't know. I mean, that's really what I just love. It'd be fun to get a message like that for him right now. Actually, because sometimes I'd be like, what? Like out of nowhere, and he's all, Greg, how are you? I'm laying here. Did you surf today? It's like, he's all, go enjoy life, have fun, enjoy it, surf for me. That was his thing, so I would love to get that message from him right now. So, and I still do. Sometimes when I surf, I think of him, and I'm like having a good time, and some, Reggie or who are some of my friends that I still surf with, and we're like, yeah, man, for Frank, so that's there.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he would tell everyone to blast the Jack Johnson as well.
Yeah, that too.
Surf,
Yeah.
smile, and
banana pancakes.
listen to some Jack Johnson.
Having some banana pancakes. Yeah, you love that song.
I think about him too. And it's funny now that I've been here, surprisingly, it doesn't happen a lot, but I will walk on the beach and there will be live music playing at a restaurant beachside. And if someone sings some Jack Johnson, it just makes me think about Frank instantly because he would always have that playing on the TV when he would take me to go visit him. He would be listening to Jack Johnson or playing the live show. And every once in a while that song creeps in out here.
Oh,
and it makes me think about him. Yeah.
Bali people, they love Jack Johnson. Anywhere island and waves, you're gonna have Jack Johnson music. So
always. So it reminds me that he is always here with us. Always. Well, you got to see firsthand. I mean, you and your friends got to experience kind of for the first time because, like me, you didn't know what ALS was until you were sort of consumed with watching it take away one of your closest friends. You got to see sort of what the ALS Association does. You got to see a little part of it. You get to hear me tell you. You came out to an event we had here in Chicago, which was super special. So all the things you've witnessed, why would you say that what they are doing is so important? Why is the ALS Association, especially the Greater Chicago chapter, why is it so important, the work that they do?
Probably one, because I think it's something that's so dear to us. I mean, he believed in it. He believed in what the ALS like association was doing. And then I think the communal aspect, the community, it brought him around people that had commonalities, and they could talk and vent or whatever, or bring their issues to each other.
Yeah.
I don't know, just as being around all those people and understanding it better for himself. I think,
Yeah.
they give you all those tools, and then actually just the I guess the funding for the research, that's the number one, I think, was really important for him, because that was his mission, that was his main thing. Even before he was involved with he was like determined. He's like, we got it. Like all his research on the back end, he wanted to find a cure. He was like, I'm determined, because he didn't know anything about the ALS Association for a long time, and then all of a sudden he's like, whoa, like we need to find what's going on, like why do people have this disease? Like that was his main goal. And I think for him, when he found out there was a common association for this, he was like, it really helped him. I could tell it really, like it was like a backing positive thing for him that he could really dive into, and figure like, okay, wow, this is special. This is for me. This is for the people that, have this. And I think that was the most special thing in it, and why he wanted to get involved, So, and what else? I mean, I guess that's really it. I mean, getting to have a better understanding, I guess, and then the research is number one, so yeah.
And I think he would be proud. He's sitting up there proud, knowing that where the research was then and where the research is now. I mean, they've made some super solid headways, and we're getting closer and closer to understanding it more. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer and closer.
That's amazing. Yeah. I think he would really love to hear, just anything. I remember like, I remember him getting like one study back, and he was like, it was like this eye-opening thing for him. And I remember him like getting the email. We were all there reading. I don't think you were there, but he read it, and he's like, oh my gosh, look, you guys, like, I can't remember exactly what, but it had something to do with, how the disease affected him or whatever, and in a certain aspect. And it kind of just confirmed things that he was already thinking, and I think it really gave him even that much more like positive, like, oh, headway, like, okay, cool. That's out of the way. We're still going forward, and that was neat to watch, because it really did affect him positively, and and it just, I felt like it just strengthened him being a part of it, and having us there and involved in it was really an important thing. So.
And he opened your eyes up to it, which I think is really cool, because
of course,
now you guys and and now you're still sort of ALS champions, and you're still sharing your story. You're still sharing about the ALS Association. You're still spreading those messages and awareness long after he is gone, sort of in his honor. You're continuing his work on for him.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's really beautiful. And I want to remind, I say this so much, but I will never, ever, ever stop reminding people that every single service that the ALS Association Greater Chicago chapter provides is free of charge. Everything. They do not pay a cent to receive all of the services, all of the outreach, the equipment, the lending closet, the online courses, the seminars. Everything is free of charge. So like you were saying, this community that comes together, they understand, they know what you're going through. There are people to help you, to get you to the right doctors, to get you to the right clinics, the support groups, care service coordinators. Everything is completely free of charge. And that is only possible because of all the amazing champions like you, Greg, like, Friends for Frank. Every cent that's raised goes to an incredible cause. It gets us closer to finding a cure. Everyone that spreads the word, that shares the mission, that introduces people to the chapter, every volunteer, this whole community is built on all these amazing people that are making a difference in the lives of those with ALS. And it wouldn't be possible without all of these amazing people. So huge shout out,
Beautiful.
huge thank you to everyone that's out there spreading this word. And because we're doing it for Frank, and we're doing it for Scott, and we're doing it for all of the people that we have ever lost that we love because of ALS. And this disease, we don't have a cure yet. So we're going to keep losing people, and we're doing it for them too. We want to put an end to this.
Yep.
Stinks. Oh, Scott is chiming in that it is an amazing group. I imagine he's talking about the ALS Association's team, the Greater Chicago chapter, because they are pretty amazing. And you got to meet some of them. And I don't know if you remember Julie Sharp. She is our president and CEO of the Chicago chapter. She has one of those big fat love rocks. And she just sent me a picture maybe, 6 months ago or something. This is years and years after we had that event. She still has that rock. It is still sitting on her desk.
Really cool.
Yeah.
I remember.
Still has
I remember
rock.
at the hotel. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. She still has it. And, it came with Frank's little story, it came with Frank's card. And that's just, I think, another testament to the kind of man he was, that he was larger than life, that he inspired, like you said, everybody around him to just be the best version of themselves. So cool. So that is my challenge for tonight. For everybody watching this show, I want you to channel your inner Frank. I want you to really, really remind yourself of big fat love and spread some of that BFL everywhere you go.
Yep. Smile, say hi to a stranger, start a conversation.
Yeah. And surf.
Yeah. There you go. If you can't surf physically, surf in your mind.
I like that. In my mind, I'm like Kelly Slater. Just, surf in your mind.
There you go.
I love it. Well, Greg, anything you want to say before we take off for the night?
No, but I just thank you guys for having me. I mean, it's amazing, and it's been fun. And thanks to all your family and your friends and everyone that tuned in. And everyone should be a part of the ALS Association. So.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a perfect plug. That's my favorite plug that you threw out tonight. Yes. Everyone should be a part. Come join our family.
There
Please.
You go. Yeah.
We'll welcome you with open arms.
With big
and
fat
some
love.
Jack Johnson. A whole lot of big fat love.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, people, they're going to be surfing and smiling for BFL.
Oh, I love it. There you go.
But you guys seriously spread that message, because
my job is done. Frank's job is done. There you go.
Mic drop. Beautiful. What a great way to end tonight's show on. Oh my gosh. Are you ready to smile? Scott Marcel, who I was telling you is battling ALS, he has a walk team. They will be walking in the Walk to Defeat ALS, and get ready for this, he will be adding BFL to their shirts.
Oh, no way. That's amazing.
Oh, for the ice bucket. I'm sorry, not for the walk. He has an ice bucket challenge that is coming up, I believe, in either July or August. We'll get you more information on that. But he is going to be adding BFL to the shirts for his ice bucket challenge in 2023.
Oh, that's so cool.
So rad. So rad. Well, Scott, I can't
Seriously,
wait
to
get to talk to you. And Scott, I know we would love to share some more Frank stories with you, because I think you would really appreciate them. But look at that. BFL is growing. It's growing even bigger.
Yeah. You'll have to share that video at some point too. I'm sure you have many times, but I don't know. So this is only my second or third time seeing the show. So
right now, but I know. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving us some secret behind the scenes secrets that you're revealing, and for sharing Frank's story, keeping his memory alive. And seriously, thank you for everything you do as sort of an ALS advocate and just spreading the word and spreading big fat love. We really appreciate you. Glad you're part of the ALS family.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you. Peace. And
yes, we'll see you real soon.
Okay, take care, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Love it. See you later.